Breaking news that is sending absolute shockwaves through Washington and the global defense industry right now. Imagine losing $19 billion in a single day. $19 billion. That is exactly what just happened to the United States, and the ripple effects are crashing directly into the Oval Office. In a massive geopolitical earthquake, Canada has just officially yanked its multi-billion-dollar aviation deal right out of American hands. They are walking away from purchasing the prized American F-35 fighter jets. And where's that mountain of money going instead? Sweden. Canada is taking their $19 billion and buying Swedish jets, leaving the United States empty-handed, and Donald Trump facing a monumental backlash. This is not just a regular canceled contract. This is a historic, jaw-dropping rejection of American military hardware by one of its closest neighbors. The world needs to understand exactly why this is happening right now. This is the direct, explosive fallout of aggressive trade wars. For months, Donald Trump has been playing hardball, threatening Canada with crushing 50% tariffs on their own aviation industry. He threatened to completely decertify Canadian aircraft. He pushed hard, using American market power as a weapon. Well, today, Canada pushed back, and they hit the United States where it hurts the absolute most. By dumping the American F-35 jets for the Swedish Gripen, Canada is sending a loud, unignorable message. They are saying they will not be bullied. The F-35 is not just an airplane. It is a flying computer deeply tied to American software and control. Canada looked at the political threats flying out of Washington and decided they could no longer risk their national security on American systems. Now, the backlash against Donald Trump is erupting. Defense contractors are absolutely furious. Lawmakers are panicking. The loss of a $19 billion deal means the loss of American leverage, manufacturing power, and jobs. Instead of securing a massive win for the United States, the aggressive tariff strategy just blew a $19 billion hole in the American defense industry. The panic in the defense sector is palpable, and the political fallout is just beginning to take shape. How did a guaranteed, rock-solid alliance turn into a multi-billion-dollar walkout? The layers of this story reveal exactly how modern power actually works and how one threat too many just cost the United States one of the biggest deals of the decade. Look at the absolute chaos unfolding inside the American defense sector right now. The F-35 fighter jet program is the most expensive weapon system ever built in the history of the world. It survives and thrives because allied nations buy into it. When a massive player like Canada suddenly pulls out, taking $19 billion with them, it sends a terrifying message to every other country in the program. Right now, defense executives are scrambling in total panic. This single decision by Canada threatens to make the F-35 significantly more expensive for everyone else, including the United States military. When fewer planes are built, the cost of producing each individual plane shoots straight up. That means American taxpayers are now staring down the barrel of billions in extra costs, all because of a massive diplomatic breakdown. The backlash against the Oval Office is intensifying by the minute. Defense experts and lawmakers are pointing fingers directly at the aggressive trade tactics used over the past few months. A superpower cannot threaten to destroy an ally's aviation industry on Monday and expect them to hand over $19 billion on Tuesday. That is the harsh reality sinking in across Washington today. Canada did not just wake up and decide to reject American jets for fun. They were backed into a very tight corner when threats were made to slap crushing 50% tariffs on Canadian aerospace. And threats were made to strip safety certifications from Canadian planes. Ottawa had to make a survival choice. They looked at the F-35, a jet completely reliant on American software updates, and realized a terrifying possibility. If Washington suddenly decided to cut off the software as a negotiation tactic, those fighter jets would instantly become extremely expensive paperweights. By choosing the Swedish Gripen jets instead, Canada bought themselves total independence. Sweden is not threatening them with brutal trade wars. Sweden is offering full control over the technology and the right to build the planes on their own soil. This is a massive wake-up call. The strategy of using maximum pressure on close allies has backfired in spectacular fashion. The United States just handed a monumental victory to the European defense industry. And this is truly only the tip of the iceberg. The fear spreading through Washington is entirely justified because people are now asking a very dangerous question. If Canada can walk away from the multi-American military machine, who is exactly going to walk away next? Let us look at the global shockwave this is creating right this very second. The The entire world is watching this massive collapse of trust. Every single nation that relies on American military hardware is suddenly freezing and taking a very hard look at their own contracts. Japan, South Korea, massive European powers, they are all watching Canada take $19 billion out of the American economy and asking themselves one simple question: are we next? This is no longer just a story about airplanes. This is a story about the cracking of the American defense umbrella. For decades, buying American military equipment meant you were buying a rock-solid relationship. You bought the absolute guarantee that the United States had your back. But what happens when the nation selling you the jets is also the nation threatening to destroy your local economy? The trust completely evaporates. In the world of global defense, trust is the only currency that actually matters. Sweden is throwing a massive celebration right now. The maker of the Gripen jet just pulled off the upset of the century. They did not win because their jet is completely invisible to radar. They won because they offered something far more valuable to Canada in this current political climate. They offered safety from American political blackmail. They offered a guarantee that no politician in Washington could ground the Canadian Air Force with the flip of a software switch. Donald Trump is now facing a hurricane of criticism. Lawmakers who represent states where these jets are built are watching thousands of high-paying manufacturing jobs vanish into thin air. You simply cannot replace a $19 billion contract overnight. The factories that build the parts, the small towns that rely on this defense machine, they are taking a massive hit today. When you treat your closest neighbors like hostile enemies in a trade war, they will eventually defend themselves. Canada just defended themselves by taking their massive checkbook across the ocean. The question tearing through Washington today is deeply terrifying. How many more billions of dollars are going to follow Canada out the door before this trade war finally ends? The political firestorm erupting around Donald Trump right now is unlike anything seen in recent history. Lawmakers from both sides of the aisle are in absolute disbelief. The core promise was always about putting American workers first, putting American manufacturing first. But today, the cold, hard reality is crashing down. A hardline trade policy just handed a massive mountain of cash and thousands of jobs directly to Europe. Think about the sheer scale of the American defense industry. It is a massive web that connects small businesses in Texas, factories in Ohio, and brilliant engineers in California. When a $19 billion deal suddenly dies, it sends brutal shockwaves through local communities all across the country. Defense contractors are marching down the halls of Congress right now in total panic, demanding answers. They are loudly asking how they are supposed to compete on the global stage when American trade threats are actively pushing their best, most reliable customers away. This is the massive contradiction that is fueling so much anger today. A leader cannot demand that allies buy American weapons while simultaneously threatening to completely destroy their civilian economies. It is a fatal miscalculation. The strategy of applying maximum pain to force a better deal has completely shattered. Canada called the bluff, and now the United States is the one paying a devastating penalty. Military strategists are also sounding the alarm loud and clear. For decades, the ultimate goal was to have American and Canadian forces completely integrated, flying the exact same jets, using the exact same computer systems, sharing the exact same supply chains. It made defending the skies of North America simple and strong. Now, that unified shield is broken. Canada will be flying Swedish planes while the United States flies the F-35. The daily logistics of defending the continent just became infinitely more complicated. And it is all because of a bitter fight over trade tariffs. The backlash is loud, it is incredibly angry, and it is growing by the hour. People are realizing that this $19 billion loss is not just a temporary setback, it is a permanent, visible scar on American economic power. The ongoing narrative of winning trade wars is colliding violently with the harsh reality of lost contracts, lost jobs, and lost global influence. Watch what happens when the opening bell rings on Wall Street. The financial markets are bracing for a massive, brutal hit to defense sector stocks. Investors absolutely hate uncertainty. And right now, the American defense industry is surrounded by a massive, dark cloud of doubt. When a guaranteed $19 billion completely evaporates overnight, stock prices plunge, and the retirement accounts of everyday Americans take the direct hit. This is not just a political problem anymore. It is a massive financial crisis for the companies that build the military machines. This entire disaster exposes a massive, glaring weakness in the current global strategy coming out of Washington. For years, the United States has used its position as the premier supplier of advanced technology as a heavy weapon They told the world, if you do not do exactly what we say on trade, we will cut off your access to our systems. It is called weaponizing the supply chain. But Canada just proved to the entire globe that this weapon has a fatal flaw. The world actually has other options, and they are no longer afraid to use them. Ottawa just handed a massive, detailed playbook to every other country on Earth. They showed everyone exactly how to escape American pressure. Do you not want to be bullied by sudden tariffs? Simply take your massive defense budget and walk right over to Europe. The very moment Canada signed that aviation deal with Sweden, they instantly destroyed the main source of leverage Washington was holding over them. They called the bluff, and the entire house of cards came crashing straight down to the ground. Now, look at the absolute panic spreading through the boardrooms of the biggest American defense giants. They are quickly realizing that their own government is turning into their absolute worst enemy in the free market. These massive companies spend decades building strong relationships and deep trust with foreign governments. They build vital global partnerships. But one angry political threat, one aggressive tariff announcement from the Oval Office can wipe out 20 years of hard work in a single afternoon. The backlash against Donald Trump is hitting a boiling point right now because the basic math is simply undeniable. You cannot build a strong, lasting economy by intentionally chasing away your best, most reliable paying customers. The aggressive strategy was supposed to bring billions of dollars rushing back to the United States. Instead, it just pushed $19 billion directly into the pockets of a European competitor, leaving American workers to pay the absolute highest price for this monumental political miscalculation. Let us zoom out for a second and look at the absolute biggest picture, because this is where the story becomes truly historic. The sudden loss of a $19 billion aviation deal with Canada is not just a bad day for American contractors. It is a massive, flashing warning sign that the entire global power structure is shifting right under our feet. For generations, the United States held a virtual monopoly on selling the absolute best military equipment to the free world. If you were a close ally, you bought American. It was simply the way the world worked. That monopoly gave Washington incredible power. It gave them the ability to shape global politics because every country knew they needed American technology to stay safe. But the recent strategy of threatening and crushing tariffs and launching reckless trade wars has completely shattered that golden rule. By walking away from the F-35 and handing $19 billion to Sweden instead, Canada has broken the spell. They have proven to the entire world that the American defense monopoly is actually vulnerable. And you better believe that leaders in Europe, in Asia, and all across the globe are taking frantic notes today. They are watching Canada successfully push back against economic bullying without sacrificing their own military strength. This is the exact nightmare scenario that defense experts have been warning the Oval Office about for months. When you treat your oldest, most reliable friends like unpredictable enemies, they will start building their own lifeboats. We are now witnessing the very beginning of a new era. We are entering a time where allied nations will actively seek out European weapons just to avoid the dangerous political strings attached to American gear. The backlash crashing into Donald Trump is so intense right now because this damage is permanent. You cannot simply apologize next year and expect Canada to hand back $19 billion. That money is officially gone. Those high-paying American manufacturing jobs are gone. The deep, unquestioned reliance on American military technology is completely gone. The aggressive strategy of maximum pressure was pushed too far, and the result is a massive, historic rupture with the nation's closest neighbor. Look at the massive, undeniable reality facing the United States today. A $19 billion aviation contract with one of the closest allies on the entire planet is completely gone. Canada has firmly walked away from the American F-35 fighter jets, taking their massive checkbook directly to Europe. The Swedish defense industry is celebrating the victory of a lifetime, while American manufacturing towns are staring down the barrel of lost jobs and a deeply uncertain future. The political backlash surrounding Donald Trump is reaching an absolute fever pitch right now. Lawmakers are demanding answers, defense contractors are in total panic, and global military strategists are watching the American defense umbrella crack wide open. The strategy of using maximum economic pressure, of threatening crushing tariffs on close neighbors, has backfired in the most spectacular and expensive way possible. A superpower simply cannot threaten to destroy an ally's economy and still expect them to hand over $19 billion for military hardware. The single decision by Canada is going to echo through the halls of Washington for decades. It is a permanent, visible reminder that economic bullying has very real, very devastating consequences. The United States just lost a massive amount of leverage on the global stage. Every other nation watching this disaster unfold now knows exactly how to escape American pressure. They know they can simply walk away and find partners who will not threaten their civilian industries with brutal trade wars. The trust that took generations to build has been shattered in a matter of months. As the reality of this lost $19 billion deal sinks in, the panic across the American defense sector is only going to grow worse. The era of the undisputed American military monopoly is facing its greatest challenge yet. The world is changing rapidly. Alliances are shifting overnight, and the cost of aggressive political threats is finally coming due. This is a historic loss for American manufacturing, a massive blow to global influence, and a story that will permanently reshape the entire defense industry. The entire world is watching very closely, because the fallout from this $19 billion shockwave has only just begun to hit Washington.